is all about love, navigating life with you, building in happiness and sharing those dreams for two. Heart to heart, things that need to be. You get me, I get you. Being as one and it's just us two. Sharing special moment in the light we shine, and I'm glad you're mine. I have an idea. Let's sit back and listen to Dr. Gia.
Hello, welcome to Heart and our second anniversary of our GCPR family. I am so sorry, so sorry I'm late tonight. I had some technical difficulties that I'm going to figure out what's going on tomorrow. Yeah, for some reason I couldn't seem to get into the studio to open up. But this is a special episode tonight. We're going to talking about being so happy together. In this day and time that we are living in. Oh, and welcome to our radio family. I'm your host, Pastor Gia Clinton. And Heart to Heart is a journey of self-discovery that is your partner. So I want to say that this has been an amazing journey. I have really enjoyed being your guide with regard to relationships. It has been an amazing thing. I do believe, however, there's so much more we have to learn about relationships, about who we are to each other and our responsibilities and who we are connected to. My radio family, we seem to be having some difficulty connecting. I had some connection issues this evening and it's still saying connecting. So I don't know if they're with us, but hopefully it'll connect and all will be right. So in the meantime, let us talk a little bit about being so happy together. I think it was the Doors or somebody did a song years ago called So Happy Together. And it talked about how, imagine you and me, we're meant to be. No matter how you toss the dice, it comes up twice. So happy together. And, how, I can't see me loving nobody but you. And so in the world that we live in, with all the chaos and all of the turmoil and all the anxiety, we live in such a society where, it makes you question just getting up in the morning, let alone being in love and being with someone and trying to navigate life together. And how do you become happy together in a world like this? When you really think about all the things that we are going through, all the things that we're facing, global crisis and mental health, and, we're on the brink of war, then we're not on the brink of war, then we are on the brink of war again. There are some things that are happening that are just downright frightening. And so how do we stay happy together in this sort of crisis? When you think about all that we're going through in a society, and then you have this partner that you're with, that you're trying to navigate life through, and they have ups and downs, you have ups and downs, but where do you meet in the middle and find your happiness? Where does your heart meet? And, heart to heart. So we want to really talk about where we find our heart meeting in a world where it doesn't seem possible. People are more lonely now than they've ever been, because it's almost like you don't know, how things are going to fare with a partner. And then you've got the whole divorce rate, and you've got all these different things. So how do you remain happy together? Where does that happiness come in? And I think that when people think about that, you have people that have a fear of relationships. They don't even want to try because it's like, what's the point? This person's going to end up leaving me, or this person doesn't love me, or something like that. Or, you're going to go through these things where, does this person love me? Do they love me? Can our love survive this? Those are all valid questions. And the way love survives is that you have to have a level of communication that says, yes, we can. Yes, we can. In the middle of this, in the middle of that, in the middle of the world start crazy, we can do this. And it's a courageous move, because love is a choice. It's an action word. It's a choice. And so when two people have decided to be together, it's the Turtles. That's who sang the song. It is the Turtles, guys. And I am going to play a little bit of the song for you after the commercial. I think that when you listen to the song, it comes up twice. Okay. So that was the Turtles. And I always thought this song was cute because you picture, um, you picture, this happy couple, and you picture this amazing love affair. Well, love's like that in the beginning, isn't it? It's just like this awesome meeting, and it's just this amazing love affair, and it's you and this person. And no matter how you toss the dice, it comes up twice and all that. And so I think that that is a lovely sentiment when we want to talk about people being together and happy together. It's nice. But what makes the relationship stand the test of time? What makes us come together and we're able to psychologically handle the day-to-day of everything, and then you're responsible emotionally for this other person that's in your life, and they are responsible for your emotional well-being. So that's why I talk about the safe zone, because you don't want to hurt each other, right? We don't want to do that. The Bible says it is easy to win an entire city than one wounded brother or sister. You can't just hurt people and then think they're going to be okay with it. So that's why it's very important that we say the right things to one another. And we don't always say the right things to one another. We're human. Who knows the right thing to say to a person all the time? No one does. And so, Pastor G is not beating up on anyone. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, you gotta just do this and do that. It's not what I'm saying. I am saying, however, that it is important that you remain connected to your person. And the connection is the communication. You cannot have a relationship without communication. You can't. If there is no communication with you and your person, then there's no relationship. You have to be able to say how you feel to each other, right? And you have to have one. Okay, so let me explain the safe zone. The safe zone means we say what we want to each other, but we do have to say it in love. We do have to frame it a little bit different without hurting each other. You know what I mean? So sometimes we blurt things out and we say things and we don't mean it the way it comes out, but yet it comes out not a good way, not the way you intended. So the safe zone takes practice, but remember, practice makes perfect, right? It does. Practice makes perfect. And you definitely want to, when you're in that safe zone, that space, when you have the floor and you're talking to your partner, don't just blurt things out or say things that sound good up here, but doesn't quite come out here. Because you could say something that's hurtful and miss that you've hurt your partner. And that's not a place you want to be. You don't want to hurt your partner. You don't want your partner to ever feel that they don't matter, or something or someone matters more than them, because it's just not true, right? It's not true. And you don't want to give that appearance ever. You just don't. So we're trying to be so happy together, listen to what he says. Imagine you and me, we're meant to be. No matter how we toss this dice, it comes up twice. Like, we're meant to be twice, you know what I mean? And we're just so happy together. So finding out that you're meant to be is one thing, but navigating who you're meant to be together is quite another. Let's say it again. Finding out that you're meant to be, that this is your person, is one thing, but navigating who the two of you are meant to be together is another thing. That's a whole nother matter. And so when we're trying to discover who we are meant to be to each other, how we're meant to be with each other. I mean, you're meant to be, but it's like, who are we to each other? And so that is a ongoing, developing part of life. She can be best friend. He can be, counselor. He can be protector. He can be advisor, provider, lover, friend. Who you are meant to be to each other, who you're going to become to each other, is going to encompass a lot of different things. Not all at once, but as time goes on, some things will unfold and develop as you take this journey together, right? So when you are saying that you love someone, it is very important to remember that in loving this person, it is okay to evaluate the relationship. That's okay. Honey, how are we doing? Temperature check. How are you feeling? I had a little anxiety this morning about this, and this, but otherwise okay. You have to be able to communicate to each other. Now, I'm not suggesting you have to be each other's therapist, but you do have to be in a place, that's where the safe zone comes in, that this person trusts you. You don't want to start hurting each other or knifing each other intentionally or unintentionally, because it destroys trust. It destroys love. It destroys how you feel about each other, how you see each other. So always remember, if you can't give an answer to something, Don't shut your mouth. If you, and it's, even if the person wants an answer right now, just, honey, I don't have any answers for you. You give me a lot to think about. Let me think about it. Because maybe you just don't have an answer right then and there, or you got to kind of process what this person is saying to you. I am one of those people to process. I can't just give an answer. You think being a therapist you could, but I can't do that. You think being a pastor you could. You cannot, because the Bible says be ready to give an answer to all men, It also says a soft answer turns away wrath and grievous words stir up anger. So choose your words. Let them count for something. You don't want your tongue to become a dagger. You don't want your words to become a knife to anyone's heart, especially the heart of the one you love. So you have to be careful. Sometimes you can be thoughtless, because you're trying to say something, but it doesn't come out right. And then you hurt the person. The person's not going to always tell you that they're hurt or that they're frustrated by what you said, or what you said frightens them. Honey, what you said, I found it a bit frightening or disturbing. I don't know how to take that. I don't know how to process that. So we always have to remember that there's more than just us. Okay. Pastor Gia has been on a coffee kick all day. I had a peppermint mocha iced coffee with whipped cream and a ribbon of chocolate. This is why I don't eat. because I'm always drinking coffee. This one is a caramel swirl coffee with caramel creamer and a ribbon of caramel. This is why Pastor G is not eating the way she should. So, is it a coffee? Is it a dessert, people? I don't know. Our motto. I don't know. But the important thing is that two people are able to talk to each other. Even if you don't understand what your partner is saying, it is okay to say, babe, I don't really understand everything you're saying, but, I'm going to give it some thought. Or maybe you could say it again, say it a little slow. I'm not understanding it. You can't say, I said this, dummy. Or, you know what, why don't you understand? I thought you were smart. You can't come off like that, because then your partner's going to feel like, what? First of all, you're coming to me asking me, so I don't understand. It's okay to say I don't understand. Or baby, I'm not following you. Give it to me. Can you give it to me a little slower, or maybe in parts? Let's start from part one. You know what I mean? That way your partner understands that you're listening and you're trying to hear them. So that's one reason why you can stay happy, because you've created a strong level of communication that just plows through anything. It is very important that we trust one another in a relationship. If you don't trust each other, or if you're afraid to say things to each other, it's not a relationship. So you can't be afraid to say things, and you can't be afraid to hear things. How you process what you hear is a different matter, because you might hear something that's not what the person's saying, and that is very possible. And so I can tell you that people have been struggling with that since the dawn of time. They really have. So one party will say something, another party won't quite understand what's being said, and then there's this total misunderstanding. And, then how do you go back and say, I don't understand, what did you mean? So here's the thing. There are many forms of communication, and sometimes it's okay to write a party a letter or a note. Dear honey, when we spoke last evening, about I felt this way, or it made me feel this way. I'm not saying what I feel is correct, but this is how I feel. I'm emotional. I feel a little insecure about what you said, or I'm not understanding what you said, or what you said scared me because it made me feel like you were saying something about our relationship, and or us, You're going to have to learn that communication is not always talking face to face. Sometimes you write a person a letter. Before you write the letter, The first caption is called safe zone, semicolon, safe zone, and then the colon. Then the next line is dear honey or sweetheart. I don't, you know what I mean? You have to preference it that this is a safe zone. I'm talking to you from my heart. That's what safe zone means. And from my heart, I need to express to you something that is bothering me or something you said that is bothering me. So this person understands when they read safe zone, they understand that, okay, this is really bothering my person. I need to give them a little attention. I need to take this seriously. And it's not easy. You might think, oh, she's being so silly or he's being so silly. That is not at all what I meant. But the person is saying, I don't understand what you meant, or I'm confused by what you said. It made me feel scared because I don't understand what you said. And I think you're saying this, but you might not be saying that, so I need some clarity, or I'm just telling you how I feel. I don't know how you're going to feel about what I'm saying, but I'm telling you how I feel. So at that point, it is the ball is in the other party's court. The ball is in your partner's court to say, all right, honey, we're not going to talk about this now. I'm going to talk about this. Or the partner might write you a letter. He might answer your letter by saying, safe zone, colon, dear honey, I have read your letter in its entirety, and I feel that you took what I said out of context, or I really didn't mean it this way. Please understand, I was trying to express emotion, and I think that it was misunderstood. I think you misunderstood my feelings. So sometimes it is okay when things could be a little heated, or you don't really want to talk to the person, or you're afraid to say what you have to say, to write a letter. I think letters are, still the coolest way to communicate sometimes. It is okay to write a letter and say, I'd like to say this to you. I don't know how I'm going to say this to you, but I really wish to say something to you. And in saying something to this person, you are saying, I value your feelings. You matter to me. And this is how I feel, and I want you to know this. So I think that is a really nice way to let your partner know that something's bothering you, or that you were bothered by something that they said or did, but remember, in expressing yourself, a soft answer turns away wrath, and grievous words, angry words, can stir up anger. And sometimes when we're talking and someone says something that rubs us the wrong way, we can respond sharply without even thinking. You just kind of throw your hands up and like, oh, this is where it is, huh? That's not where it is. The most intimate part of your relationship is the two of you. First thing you think about in the morning, last thing you think about at night. You wake up with this person on your mind some kind of way. It's all normal. But if you devalue or harm the relationship, that's not going to happen. So we want to be careful with how we are expressing our emotions. So when we want to be happy together, we have to find a happy medium. Happy median is, okay, there's what you want, there's what I want. Let's meet somewhere in the middle. Compromise is very important. So we've got compatibility, compromise, right? Connection, compatibility, compromise. And, these are things that are important. Communication, right? So all these things play a part in the two of you being happy together, right? Compromise means that I've heard what you said. I may not agree with it totally, but I'm willing to meet you halfway. Honey, I heard what you said. I'm willing to meet you halfway. Or I heard what you said, baby. I totally agree with you. I never looked at things that way. You're right. It's okay to say, you're right, honey. That is okay. You're right, honey, is a real thing. I agree with you. I hear you. And I agree with most of what you said. However, I do feel this, and this also. Um, both things can be true, and let's talk about that both things can be true. Like your feelings and his feelings can both have merit. So that's why communication is important. That's why it's important that you talk to one another. That's why it's important that you two open up to one another. You have to. Can you imagine not talking to one another? Communication is something that we both need in a relationship, right? You're not going to feel like snuggling up with Snookums if you're upset by something that they've said to you. You know what I mean? And so miscommunication can fester. Miscommunication can cause anxiety. It can cause hard feelings, especially if you're pondering this and it's, you know, sticking at you and you think this person was trying to be mean to you and they probably weren't. Sometimes people have a hard time communicating with their partner and they say things that they don't really mean to say because they're expressing it the best way they know how. It takes time for a partner to understand that about you, that communication is not your forte. And so your attempt to communicate, they understand, okay, he's saying this, but maybe he doesn't really mean it this way. Or she's saying this, but I don't think she means it quite like this. So they don't take it personal. Sometimes we take things personal and we shouldn't. Well, we take things personal because, we're sensitive. You love your person. The person loves you. Your partner loves you. And so that relationship is very sacred above all others, as far as you're concerned, as far as you both are concerned. It's a sacred relationship. So if someone says something and it's haphazard, it makes it a little hard. It makes you fearful of want to talk to them. And you don't ever want to be fearful of your partner. That's the person that's going to have your back the most, right? They are going to have your back. They're going to say things, do things and all that. So you need them to have your back. You need that. So when you think of communicating with your partner, you definitely want to think of, what that communication looks like, right? You want to think of how we're talking to one another. Are we saying it in love? Are we saying it just blurting things out, just taking for granted that our partner can take it on the chin? Not really a good idea. Sometimes it takes us a while to realize that we've said something thoughtless to hurt our partner's feelings, or that was mean and you didn't mean to be mean. It just didn't come out right. And sometimes there are times when we say things and we're just being mean, and that's not great. You don't want to be mean to your partner. When you take this journey of life together, you want to have the understanding in order for us to be happy together, our communication has to be priority one. And when you think about it, it's very difficult to communicate when you don't have a safe zone, when you're afraid to talk to your partner, when you're afraid to say the wrong thing. You're going to say the wrong thing. Let's just establish that. You are going to say the wrong thing to your partner. You're not perfect. She's not perfect. He's not perfect. Neither of you are perfect. And you are going to say the wrong things. You are going to rub each other the wrong way. But that is how we learn. And you can't hold that against your partner every time they do something wrong or say something wrong. You can't do that. You have to be able to love one another. You can't bite and devour one another. You can't hold back what was said 2 years ago and bring it up in an argument because you think it's good ammo. This isn't your enemy. This is the person you love. Sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we don't know the difference. You've got to learn the difference. You got to learn that love means forgiveness. Love means patience. Okay, your person might blurt out stuff and say things they shouldn't say, but shouldn't you forgive that? Shouldn't you bear that because it's your person and you love them and you want to create this safe space, but you also want to understand how they process things. And they need to understand how you process things. Oh, you know what? The last time I said something like that, she got a little upset. So, I better frame this different. I got to say this a little different, in the safe zone, just in case. you know, um, your partner is counting on that safe zone so that if they say something, you're not going to hold it against them. You're not going to be hurt by it. But at the same time, you got to be responsible in the safe zone and try to make sure that they're understanding what you're saying. Or say, honey, this might not be coming out right. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. It doesn't mean that, say that. I'm not saying I don't love you. I'm not saying our relationship isn't important. I'm not saying that we're not together or we're not going to make it, or we're not going to get married, or we're not married, or, whatever it is. You're going to have to be able to reassure your partner in addition to being in that safe zone. Reassurance within the safe zone means that we are solid. Everything around us might be crazy, but we are solid. We are together. Even if I feel crazy about us at times, we are still solid. I can't see me loving nobody but you. You know what I mean? Like, even when I think of trying to run away from you, or, I just can't imagine my life with anyone but you. So you have to be able to communicate that to your partner so that no matter what is said in that safe zone, they understand that you two are solid. I'm saying these things to you, honey. I don't want you to take us wrong because you are the person I love. I love you. So I'm trying to say things to you that I need to get off my chest. And you're the person I trust the most. So you got to kind of establish some foundation for your safe zone. And, you might have to establish that, this is our connection and this is how we talk. And, I don't want you to think that how I'm communicating means that I don't love you, or, sometimes you have to say that. You might have to say, honey, I think that you are the most amazing person on the planet. You know what I mean? There's no man that compares to you, things like that. Or there's no woman I'd rather be with, no woman holds a candle to you in my eyes, or no man holds a candle to you in my eyes. Sometimes your person might just need to hear that and know that that's how you feel, because it gives them reassurance. And then it might say, oh, I know you feel that way. No, they don't. They don't know it until you reassure them that you do feel that way. They just don't know. Or he should know how I feel, or she should know. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she really doesn't know how you feel, and we can't always take that for granted. I said I loved you 6 months ago. If you're going to invoke the safe zone and say some stuff, you might need to say that again. So that your person is sure that what's happening? And then within this safe zone, is this still a loving place? Are we still in a loving place? So I think, because what you don't want is your partner to become insecure. You don't want to breed insecurity in your partner, because then it makes them not trust the connection that you're establishing. And you need that. You need that. You don't want your partner to start doubting us. You know what I mean? Together, you're an us. And so you can't have that kind of thing. Even if you're going through something emotionally, you still need to bring about a safe place for your partner. Amen. Your partner has to know that no matter what's going on, you know, the world stops spinning, if people stop falling in love, or, you know, they burn up San Francisco or blow up someplace, we are still together. We are still in love. So you are establishing not just a safe zone, but a solid foundation within the connection. And if you are partnered and married and you've been together several years, it is never too late to establish the safe zone. It is never too late. In fact, it may enhance your relationship, and it may increase the love that you feel for one another, because that involves trust, doesn't it? And the trust that you're feeling is something that you really need to establish. You have to. Without trust, it makes it hard to determine what kind of relationship you had. Trust in foundation. The foundation for a stable relationship must be laid. Communication is how we lay that. Trust is another way we lay that. Reassurance is how we establish that. You have to reassure your partner so that, and this is a learning process, guys. It's not easy. It's like, wow, now you tell us, Pastor Gia, we got to reassure our partner. Yes. It's not always something you know to do. It's not. It is a learning process, learning a relationship. It is a hard process. It is a journey. And you have to understand that within this journey, there's going to be misunderstandings. It is not the end of the world. It does not mean your relationship is over. It does not mean she has another man. It does not mean he has another woman. It just means that you have to establish communication and lay the foundation for it. And once you lay the foundation for that communication, you have a magnificent relationship. You have a relationship that's unmatched. You'll be the envy of all your neighbors. Not that you want to be the envy of anybody, but they'll see a level of trust and communication with you to the point where the safe zone spills into everything. Like you can just communicate with your eyes to each other. He'll give you a look. She'll give you a look. You know what they mean. But that comes from communicating. I've seen this look. I know what she means. She's quiet. She's thinking. He's quiet. He's pondering something, or he may not understand what I'm saying. So you've got to learn each other. But the best way to learn each other is communicate. Even when it's hard, right? When everything's wonderful and rosy, right? And you got the raise on your job and everything's great. And, it's like, yay, or you're going on vacation. But in order to get to those points in life, you got to have your partner by your side, your co-pilot, the person that you want to tell stuff to. And you got to feel comfortable that you can tell stuff to, that you can say things and it won't be misunderstood. How that occurs is that you establish the foundation that we're okay. Okay? Unless you're not okay, then you need to be talking with a therapist. You don't just go to your partner and say, you know what, we're not okay, we're getting divorced. That's not a safe zone. That's I'm an idiot zone. You can't say that and expect there to be a relationship after you say those words, because there's not. You can't say, I want us to break up, and there's going to be a relationship after that, because there's not going to be any trust. Some things are confusing in a relationship, and some things you need to work through together. But how you work through together is talking, communicating, and establish that this person is who you want to be with, and you love them forever and ever. Because the worst thing you can do is act on emotion and say something harsh, or say to your partner, I want a divorce, or I want to break up, and 3-4 days later you thought about it and you don't want that. But now they do, because they don't trust you and they think this and that, and you can't. Now they don't hear anything you say beyond what you've said. You've destroyed communication. Now communication is done, and no matter what you're saying, they're going, they're not listening. Male or female, they're just not listening. And if you proceed to try to talk to them, now they're going to pull out their javelin and just try to knife you because they're angry. And so, honey, I didn't mean that. I was going to, so you're unstable. So you're crazy. So, so you don't want to say those things to a partner. And if you feel like that, you might want to say it to a therapist first. And you guys go to a therapist together. If you truly want to end your relationship and it's over and you don't care and you're not coming back and all that kind of stuff. Finality means that you are ready to walk away. Now, if you're ready to walk away, that's one thing. But if you're not and you're just having emotional upsets and you can't make your partner feel like you are a locomotion. You can't. You got to make them feel that this is steady, rock steady. Joel Levert, that you two are rocking steady. And so oftentimes we get confused about what rock steady means, about how or what being stable means. You don't want to do that. You don't want to present that I'm not stable. I don't know what's going on. We're not stable. I don't know. You never want to say that to your partner because it frightens your partner. It does, makes them insecure. It frightens them. It makes them feel like you're not grounded together. Like we're not anchored and we don't have anything. And so, and it sounds extreme, but that's where those kind of words go. Those are extreme words and they take you to a place where you don't want to be. So we want to be happy together. And in order to be happy together, these are the things that we have to do. We have to lay the foundation of trust and stability. We have to establish a safe zone where we are careful how we frame things to our partner. And we're open to going to our partner saying, hey, I didn't mean it that way. I apologize for how that came across to you. And you can't be afraid to communicate to your partner when something hurts your feelings. Sometimes your partner won't catch it. Sometimes they catch it late. So you have to say, babe, that's not cool. You don't even have to say it hurt my feelings. Babe, that wasn't cool. I didn't like the way you said that. That wasn't good. What? What do you mean? You can't get defensive. You're in a safe zone. All right, honey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Maybe it is enough to jolt you to say, okay, wow, he took it in a way I didn't mean. And it's because maybe it's the way it came out. I didn't say it right. I didn't say it properly. So, you always have to bear in mind that your partner is very different from you. And they don't think the way you think, which is good. Differences are incredibly wonderful in a relationship. You don't want somebody that thinks the way you do. That is not equally yoked. That is just clones. You don't want genetic clones. You want somebody that's different than you because they challenge you. You're good together. This person sees things that you don't see. You see things this person doesn't see. You see things in a way that they don't see things. You know what I mean? So those things within a relationship dynamic are wonderful. Oh, he's just so different than me. And maybe getting someone like me makes sense. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. If I have a partner that's different than me, that's, smart, witty, this kind of thing, but, they say what they mean, they know what's going on. I want that partner. I want that guy. I want the guy that can protect me. I want the guy that can, tell me things, teach me things, show me things. You know what I mean? We can work together, can appreciate my knowledge. Those are the kind of things that make a relationship strong. Your differences actually enhance what you have. You got two people that think the same, laugh the same, like the same, come on. How's that going to work? Your differences are what's needed to make the relationship better. You know what I mean? You can't have a relationship that doesn't have differences. You need differences. What are you going to do if you get involved with someone and, I want them to think the way I think? I want them to talk the way I talk. Well, you sound like you want to marry yourself, date yourself. You can't do that. That's so narcissistic. You want someone to be different. You want to applaud them for their differences. Maybe your partner's more intellectual than you are. Awesome. You know what I mean? That's awesome. It's okay if one is intellectual and one is more business minded. You know what I mean? Those two areas are going to complement each other. Well, he doesn't talk the way I talk, and she just doesn't understand because I have 6 degrees and she only has one, or she is. That's not really important because at the end of the day, when it's just the two of you, how many degrees this person has doesn't matter. How many degrees you have doesn't matter. What matters is who you are together. Your happiness together doesn't depend on someone's education or lack thereof. What matters is how you are together, how you gel together, how you bond, how you become one, like V'ger on Star Trek. You guys know I'm a Trekkie. So, what Pastor G is trying to get you to see tonight is that in order to be happy together, your love must stand the test of time, right? It must be in a way that it must be bonded in a way that no matter what comes, no matter what storm comes, no matter what hits you, sickness and in health, richer for poor, that happens. We all know about the stock market crash. Richer for poor can happen. Lose a job, get sick. You want to be able to know that your partner has your back. You're solid, especially for older couples. Older couples, you want to know that this person's going to take care of you. Sickness and in health. Something happens, they're not just going to abandon ship. So those are the things that kind of matter. And these foundations reassure your partner that you can be happy together. Together, we're strong. Remember in the book of Ecclesiastes, Pastor G always says, one lays down and they're cold. Two lay down, they're together, they're warm. But a 3-cord knot is not easily broken. And so the foundation of your relationship must be knotted together. You put Christ in that relationship, you put God first, you're going to have a good relationship. Now, when I say put God first, I'm not talking about neglecting your partner, ever. Don't neglect your partner. I am talking about laying the foundation for something special. I am talking about laying the foundation for the two of you to be together and establish, you know what I mean? To establish forever. Forever can be established when the two of you decide to join hands and say, this is not a casual thing. We're in it for the long haul. I want this to be something with you. And so it takes time to establish that. Some people know right away. Some people hit the love at first sight thing and they just know, their eyes meet, this and that. But you still are going to have to bond and get to know each other. That is not instant. A bond can be instant, but to actually know a person, to know they're like afraid of spiders or squirrels or mice or whatever, burglars, or even thunderstorms. You got to get to know the person. That takes time. To know if your partner's allergic to radishes or fruit or, broccoli or whatever. You have to get to know your partner, and that only happens through communication. Spending time together. Well, we're together, we don't have anything to say to each other. No, you don't have something you want to say to each other. You should be talking to each other. Never should there be silence between the two of you because there's always something to talk about when the two of you are together. There just is. There may be fear and anxiety in what to say. Sometimes we're scared to say the wrong thing, so we just don't say anything. That doesn't help. You cannot be afraid to say what's in your heart. That's why this zone is important. It means safe zone says I respect you above all others. You challenge me in ways that no one else has, right? You have a place in my heart that no one else ever will, you know, and this is a safe space for us to communicate. No matter how difficult it is, we're going to work through it together. That's what the safe zone is. That is how we stay happy together. You invoke that safe zone, you talk, you communicate. And sometimes you might find yourself invoking the safe zone a lot because there's a lot you want to say, a lot you need to say. But before you say it, establish the foundation that this is a safe zone, our safe zone, and yes, we are together, and I love you. Once you say that, they don't care what you say. You can tell them that the house is on fire, the basement flooded, they're good. You know, honey, this, I got into a fist fight on my job. You can say anything to your partner, and they will always have your back because you have established, I'm not talking at you, I'm talking to you, and we are together forever. You know what I mean? So you have to establish that in order for the person to feel secure so that they trust you. You know, you want to be able to trust your partner above all others, but you've got to establish trust. You got to bring trust to get trust. You want me to trust you, you got to bring some trust. I trust you, you trust me. You know what I mean? We're solid. You know, because at the end of the day, you say something goofy to your partner, especially in the beginning stages of this, it lays the foundation of you can't trust me. It lays the foundation of you're not safe with me. Your heart isn't safe with me. Don't get too comfortable here. You know, our relationship is not on, we're on shaky ground. So you never want to be able to say that or establish that to your partner unintentionally. Because feelings shift and change every day. They just do. Love is vulnerable. Love makes you vulnerable. Love is scary, especially if you're not used to being vulnerable. And it is something that if you don't establish it correctly, you injure your partner without realizing it. And then when your feelings are all the way there, theirs are not. You know, and they're like, because it's like, oh, I don't know if I can trust this. You always want from the door. You establish trust from the door. Never make your partner feel insecure about who you are to each other. It closes them off to opening up to you. Then you find your partner quiet, not saying anything to you. But you know, there's things they don't want to say because they don't know what to say. You know what I mean? They don't trust you. In order to establish trust, you must establish a solid foundation. And solid foundation it's not a feeling, it's faith. Faith that my love is solid for you. Faith that your love is solid for me. Faith that even when the world gets crazy, we still have each other, we love each other, we have each other's back. That's faith. Faith in the connection that we're entering into, faith in the connection that we're establishing. You are going to be many things to each other over the years as it evolves. Many things. You're going to see many gifts and talents in each other that you didn't know was there, or some maybe you did know was there that you're going to bring out in one another. But they're meant to complement each other. They just are. You ever hear mi casa su casa? So my home is your home. My strength is your strength. You know what I mean? We're one. You know? So you want to establish that it is okay to love me because I'm not going nowhere. It's okay for me to love you because you're not going nowhere. You want to establish that. That builds trust. So when you build trust, and trust is a solid foundation, you have an absolute wonderful safe zone. You can say anything to your partner, but you must say to your partner, especially in the beginning stages, you want to establish, look, I have to say some things to you. And it may make me sound a little flaky, but before I say these things to you, we are solid. I love you. You love me, we are fine. You can say anything at that point. Okay, sure. Go ahead, babe, say it. What is it? You know what I mean? You never want to make your partner feel that you are not on solid ground, ever. Don't do that. It makes the partner feel that this is not stable. The marriage is not stable. The partnership, the relationship is not stable. If you're dating and living together or whatever you're doing, partnering up, that's not stable. And people, when they feel something is not stable, they overthink things, they panic, and they start thinking things that aren't there. They start hearing you say things that you never said, and it blows up the connection with a grenade. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Because for women are nesters. They're always looking for something stable and solid. You communicate to a woman that this is not stable and solid, they don't want to nest with you, because then they're going to feel like they can't nest with you. Then everything you say, they're not going to trust, even though they're saying, okay, honey, yeah, you know, you understand me? Sure. But they don't. So you need to establish that you're solid, that we're solid together, so that your safe zone is solid. You're not blowing up your safe zone. You're not blowing up your connection, your relationship, your partnership before it gets off the ground. You want to establish that there's love. You want to establish things. When the relationship is unfolding, it is a budding, blossoming flower. And when a flower is blooming, it is so beautiful. And when it comes into full bloom, it is the most amazing, most magnificent thing you will ever see. But in order for it to bloom, it has to be nurtured and watered properly, right? It's nothing more beautiful than something that blooms. And when love blooms, it is amazing. It is the most beautiful thing on the planet. But we want to establish in love, first of all, that we are in love. And second, that this is a solid, stable thing. And two, you can trust me. You can always trust me. And I can trust you. I can always trust you. Trust is important. And you must speak life into your relationship. Life and death, the Bible says, is in the power of the tongue. And the Bible is not the only book that says that. It's mentioned in the Tao, the Upanishads, the Quran. You just name it, the Catholic Bible. You name it, it's there. You have to be able to establish love correctly. You have to. You have to be able to trust each other. Have each other's back. I have my person's back. Yeah, but you just sat there and talked crazy to them. And when you talk crazy, they don't know whether you got their back or not. They don't know what's going on. Like, what? What's happening? Always establish first that we're solid, that we're good. Baby, we're good, we're solid. This isn't about us per se. I'm going through this. This isn't about this per se. I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm trying to make sense of that. Always establish that our connection means something to me. It means something to her, means something to him, means something to you both. You're going to have to put the work in. No relationship is going to be easy. And any relationship worth having, you're going to have to communicate and put the work in. I know what you're thinking. Pastor G, this sounds like a lot of work here. It is. It really is. Nowhere in this relationship is it going to be easy. It gets easier over time, because once you establish certain things and you and your partner become more familiar and you've spent years together, now you know that your partner is solid, but it's still nice to be reminded that this is solid. As time goes by, you can forget. You can take things for granted. You can say things. Oh, geez, this little crick in her neck, neck hair. You can say things over time that, you know, kind of destabilizes things. So you always want to make sure that you are building a wholesome, healthy, loving, passionate connection. And it's not, sometimes it's instant, but from that instant point, it still begins to develop and bloom, you know? So some people ask the question, somebody inboxed me this question. They said, "You believe in love at first sight?" I said, "Yes, I believe in love at first sight." Well, what is better, love at first sight or love that blooms over time? I say love is different for every time it finds you. No one love is going to be the same. Love is different every time you fall in love. Every person that you will ever fall in love with is going to be different. And very few of us will fall in love many, many times. Sometimes you get once, sometimes you get twice, sometimes you get 3 times, sometimes you get, but every time you experience love, it is always going to come differently. I would say appreciate love when it finds you and appreciate the person for their differences. It is okay for your person to be different, and never compare 2 men, never compare 2 women. There's no comparison. The person that you love now doesn't compare to the person that you loved later. The person that you love now, no man will ever compare to that person, ever, ever, ever. They just won't. You will never love anyone the way you love that person. Not ever. Not ever. You will never love any woman the way you love that woman right now. You'll never love anyone the way you love your partner. And you need to establish that. Don't breed insecurity in your connection. Don't breed insecurity in your communication. You are laying the seeds of destruction. You are sabotaging the relationship. And once you sabotage the relationship dwindles. I don't know, I just don't feel the same way I felt last month, or I don't feel the same way I felt before. You don't feel the same way you felt because you've been sabotaging the connection with your words. When you harm people with your words, when you begin to knife each other and say things that are mean to each other, you destroy what's there. You fizzle out the connection. If a person feels rejected, they're not going to feel that you love them. If a person feels unappreciated, or if a person feels insecure, they're not going to feel that you love them, and they're going to pull away. You're going to pull away. You'll find yourself pulling away from each other instead of pulling together. You need to pull together. You need to work together, build together, pull together. That is how you stay so happy together. Amen? All right. All right, guys. I think Pastor G is hit it on the head there. I want you guys to remember being happy is a choice. Love is a choice. You're not going to always feel happy. You're not going to always feel like you love somebody. There are outside things that go on, outside pressures that will apply in your life that will affect how you feel about everything around you. So you can't base loving somebody on just a feeling. It's more than that. Do you want to protect this person? Do you want the best for this person? Do you care if this person's hurt? Do you care if this person's sad? Do you care if this person, eats? Or do you care, you find yourself caring in ways that you don't care for anyone else. You find yourself wanting to talk to this person and share things with this person that you didn't want to share with others. So those are the things that matter in a relationship. They just do. And when you remember that relationships matter, that how you feel about one another matters, it's not so scary. It's not scary, it's exciting. Then the excitement and the newness comes back because you feel secure and safe in that connection. And love is able to be expressed openly and honestly. It is very important that love comes through effectively. You have to be able to love, you have to be able to show love, communicate love, and express love openly and honestly, you know? And so, you know, you love the person, you choose the words. If you have to say something hard to a person or something a little confusing, establish that we're okay, honey. I love you. Baby, we're fine. This isn't about us necessarily. This is about I'm feeling, I'm going through some emotional difficulties, but I love you and we're solid. Even if you don't quite feel solid at that moment, we're solid. Because it happens. Love is scary. It makes you vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, we want to put up defense mechanisms, and you don't want to hurt people while you're trying to figure things out, because once you hurt people, you've destroyed something that you very much discover that you really want and you really can't live without. And you're living without this person for no reason, because we weren't careful with how we build this connection or how we communicate with one another. You never want to bite and devour one another, because people become vicious when they're defensive. They're like wounded animals. You never want to be that way with your partner. Your partner is the one person that you never want to hurt. You want to put your hands at your side, even when you're angry, even when your partner says something to hurt you. You don't want to fight back. You don't want to. The hardest thing to do is to fight back, realize you've hurt the person that you love. I can't hurt my person without hurting myself. It would hurt me to know that I hurt you. You know what I mean? Because I love you. And I don't want you to hurt me, And once you realize you've hurt me, you're gonna feel away because you love me, So you can't hurt each other, not without hurting each other. It is a real thing. The two do become one flesh. You do become one. And as you're becoming one, and when you become one, it's very painful to realize you've hurt the person you love on any level. It just is. You might think you don't care, but you really do. You do care. You care that you hurt your person. You don't want your person to think the worst of you. You don't want to be, no one wants to be that person. Right? They just don't. Nobody wants to be the person that's going around hurting people. So, in order to be happy together, I've given you a lot. You want to lay a solid foundation. The safe zone, you want to have that in place. But the safe zone sits on top of a solid foundation of we're okay. We are absolutely okay, honey. I absolutely love you. I don't want to be with anyone else but you. That is the safe zone foundation. You say those words, because then no matter what comes out of that safe zone, your partner understands that you love them and you choose them again and again. When a person doesn't feel chosen, they don't want to stay. When a person doesn't feel that you love them, they feel foolish. They just do. Like, what? This person doesn't love me. So you don't want to establish sabotage in the relationship, because you're trying to make sense of love and you're trying to gain your footing, because love can have you feeling like you are free falling. It can. And with that comes a lot. So, you always want to be careful how we present love to one another. Always. Always. You don't want to say things that we don't mean. We don't want to hurt people. We don't want to do things or say things that we cannot take back. You don't want to do that. And you want to be able to forgive each other, but you establish forgiveness by establishing a foundation that I love you and you love me. You know what I mean? That's it. Nothing else needs to be said. I love you. You love me. We're okay. Having said that, honey, we need to talk about this. You know, that is the foundation for an awesome relationship. That is the foundation for happy together. Being happy together, you can weather anything with communication, a solid foundation. You know what I mean? Trust and understanding. Understanding and reasoning comes when you're able to build that together. Okay, so that's all the time that Pastor Gia has for this evening. I definitely want you to feel like you've gotten some nuggets of knowledge that you can take away to help you in your journey of self discovery that is your partner. I want you to be able to apply these principles that I'm teaching you so that you can have an understanding of this being a good relationship. A lot of times you think, oh, this relationship isn't good and this and that. And no, it's not. And how do you know it's not good? Well, we don't have this, we don't have that. You're not communicating to know whether it's good or not good. You got to talk safely and effectively. And when your partner invokes the safe zone, now is the time to establish, baby, I love you. We're solid, we're okay. My love is solid. My love for you is solid. So that they understand that no matter what comes out of your mouth, no matter how crazy it is, that you two are solid. And if you're not solid and you don't want to be with your person, then tell them. Tell them you don't want to be with them, cut them loose, let them go find someone else, and you go find someone else, and just don't do this. But if you do love your person and you believe that there's something there, then you make sure that the foundation is established. And then you invoke the safe zone. And then the safe zone is truly safe because the relationship is established. The relationship is safe. You can say anything to each other. Okay? So great. Good talk, guys. So I just want you to understand the principles of being happy together. You can be happy together. It is possible. It is something worth fighting for. What you have is real, or you wouldn't be together. You wouldn't be drawn to each other like magnets. There's so much richness in that connection and that communication and that partnership and that marriage that you have to fight for it. People would kill to have what the two of you have. They really would. Not everyone has that connection. Not everyone has that reassurance. Trust and believe it's worth fighting for. All right, so that's all the time that Pastor Gia has this evening. Coming up is Team Nathan. I would like to say again, happy birthday, GCPR. You are turning 2 today. And I am so proud to be a part of this network. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. From my heart to your home, thank you and God bless you. And if no one else has told you they love you, I do. Have a good evening. See you next week.
It's all about love, navigating life with you, building in happiness, sharing those dreams for two. Heart to heart, things that need to be. You get me, I get you.